Chow Wei, who's a Buddhist nun and philosopher, and you've worked together. Let us hear from the Venerable Chow Wei.
Dear Professor Singer, at this very moment, I propose a question. With Ukraine still under the invasion of Russia, its civilians suffering serious casualties, and the possibility this war may even escalate to global-scale nuclear warfare, do you agree with Ukrainian President Zelensky's decision to continue to fight against Russia till the end, or do you think that, in the face of a superpower like Russia, Zelensky's brave resistance might ultimately neither be effective nor achieve altruistic effects?
Your response to Venerable Chow Wei: is it ethical for Ukraine to resist, knowing just how many lives will be lost and have been lost?
I think that if one were only considering the well-being of people in Ukraine, it's possible that you might think that it would have been better for Ukrainians simply to lay down their arms when the Russians rolled in, as it seems that President Putin may have expected them to do. There would have been less damage and less suffering. Of course, they would then have lived under Russian rule for who knows how many decades to come. But it's also important, I think, to try to stop aggression, to stop the attempt to invade countries, to conquer them, and to change internationally recognized boundaries by the use of military force. So I think that, in a way, it's not only Ukraine at stake here, but if Ukraine had simply accepted and not resisted, then there would have been further victims, would have been perhaps the states like Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, which have Russian-speaking minorities. So I think we should be grateful to Zelensky for having resisted, and to the brave Ukrainian soldiers who are resisting.
Your own parents were forced to move from Austria to Australia to escape persecution from the Nazis in 1938. And just really moving on from the Venerable Chow Wei's question, and thanks so much for it. Do you think people living in safe or affluent countries have a moral duty to help refugees, whether from Ukraine, Syria or elsewhere?
I do think that we have a moral duty to help refugees, yes, certainly, as my parents were helped, and I would not exist if they had not been. There are questions about what policies governments and political parties can adopt, given the demonstrated reluctance of many people in affluent countries to take large numbers of refugees. That, to me, is the big problem.
I'm wondering, we've talked a lot about, issues that can raise the hackles of some. Is there anything that's off limits for you, things that you believe shouldn't be discussed, shouldn't be given legitimacy?
I think any topic should be open to sensible, careful, thoughtful discussion, providing reasons for arguments, for positions and evidence. I certainly think that, hate speech as defined by legislation that prohibits hate speech should not be allowed. There's not a forum for that. And I regard that as speech which tries to stir up emotions against people. So I'm not interested in creating freedom of expression for that, but I am interested in creating freedom of expression for ideas rationally defended.
Here's a question that came in that I want to finish on. This is from Friedrich Hegel.
No relation?
No, I don't
George
think so.
Friedrich? No?
He's in Germany. He's young. And he asked, what is the best thing for young people my age to do for effective altruism from now to 2050, gives a specific date, on our beautiful Earth?
Well, if you're young and you haven't finalized your career, then have a career which is one that is going to do as much good as you can. I think that's the important thing. And if you want to look for advice on that, there's a wonderful website called 80,000 Hours that gives people advice on careers with a view to making a positive difference to the world.
What do you think we can achieve by 2050? What sort of world do you think you'll be in?
I don't think I'll be in any world by 2050, unfortunately. I'd have to be over 100 if I live that long.
I have a feeling you might.
But I certainly hope we'll be in a world that has brought our carbon emissions to zero and therefore is not still faced with an increasingly unstable and warming climate.
Professor Singer, thank you so much. And listeners can find out more about your work on the website The Life You Can Save. But for now, from me, Nuala McGovern, goodbye.
What goes into making the Business Daily podcast from the BBC World Service?
Well, first we take a cupful of business news.
Naturally.
Then we add a healthy measure of technology. Along with a pinch of exciting innovation.
Needed that.
Add a dash of economic analysis to taste.
Absolutely essential.
Finally, stir in some interviews with industry experts to help bind it all together. Oh, and why not season generously with some interesting takes on global news as well. Voilà, Business Daily from the BBC World Service.
For business and the world beyond, search for Business Daily wherever you found this podcast.
The documentary is just one of our BBC World Service podcasts. There are many others to choose from.
Business Daily is the place to find out about all sorts of exciting things affecting our lives from the world of business and beyond.
There's no greater power than an idea whose time has come, and the time had come, I think.
Business Daily from the BBC World Service, available now.